Maryland Governor Larry Hogan declaring war on human trafficking. But law enforcement sources tell ABC 7 Maryland's court system might not be on the same page as the governor. Montgomery County reporter Kevin Lewis uncovered one case where two men received bond despite immigration and public safety concerns.
Inside this Silver Spring apartment building, these two men allegedly made a living forcing women to have sex with strangers. Cops say Roberto Diaz Mejia lived in the brothel, charging Johns, monitoring the women, and cooking them food. His boss, Herlin Rosales Velasquez, allegedly stopped by every other day, collecting cash and delivering new women.
Up to like 5 at a time would go inside.
This young boy was home when Montgomery County police busted the alleged bordello. According to court documents, one woman inside confessed to sleeping with 63 men in 3 days. Both alleged human traffickers were charged with felonies that carry decades in prison. The men have pleaded not guilty to those counts. In Montgomery County District Court, prosecutors called Diaz Mejia a danger to the community and a potential flight risk. But records obtained by ABC 7 show Judge Karen Ferretti let the Dominican native walk out of jail without posting a penny. Rosales Velasquez didn't even make it to a courtroom. A commissioner released him for $800. Thing is, according to ICE, Rosales Velasquez is living in the country illegally.
Oh my God.
And listed this woman's Hyattsville home as his current address. She did rent her basement to the 34-year-old, but made clear he moved out more than a year ago.
For me, surprising, something hard to believe.
As a father, I'm heartbroken.
All of this happening in the wake of Governor Larry Hogan emotionally declaring war on human trafficking last summer, a mission so important it's listed on the homepage of his website.
They're exploited and enslaved, and then they're often repeatedly sexually assaulted and raped.
We contacted Hogan's office 3 times over several months, asking for its opinion on Montgomery County courts releasing the alleged human traffickers from jail despite public safety and immigration concerns. We never heard back.
This is what's manifesting in all 50 states across the country.
Bradley Miles is CEO of the Polaris Project, a DC-based nonprofit which oversees the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Miles told us the Latino sex trade is rife with violence and gang ties.
Usually those types of brothels, the guys pay $30 for 15 minutes of sexual intercourse. So those women on a 12-hour day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. usually have to be with 30 or 40 guys in a day.
ICE now has Rosales Velasquez in custody while Diaz Mejia remains out on bond. Their felony trials scheduled for March. Both Judge Ferretti and the court commissioner declined to comment for this report.
Well, it is not the kind of thing that you want to be known for, but Orkin Pest Control says that Baltimore and D.C. have more bed bug infestation cases than any other city in America. There's one local man, though, who's fighting back. Only on 7, our Kevin Lewis introduces us to a Maryland man known as the bed bug lawyer.
Some lawyers savor blood-sucking, but attorney Dan Whitney despises it.
Typically, our clients do a Google search for bedbug lawyer, and we pop up.
Whitney, who's practiced law in Maryland since 1979, fell into the niche bedbug legal market after his daughter returned from a Euro trip in 2010 with multiple bites.
And that was the first time I've heard about bedbugs since I was a child, when my father would say, "Sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite."
Whitney's numerous court filings read like horror novels, with words and phrases like fed upon, nocturnal parasites, infestation, biohazard, and blood meals.
There's something about bedbugs that really disturb people when they realize that it's something that shouldn't be tolerated.
So far, Whitney's filed more than 115 cases in places as far as Seattle, San Antonio, Orlando, and Philadelphia, but he focuses on Maryland and D.C. One suit lodged against the Courtyard Marriott in downtown Silver Spring after this woman said she was bitten 50 times during her birthday weekend. In a different case, a lady staying at the Wood Spring Suites in Camp Springs, Maryland, claimed she woke up with welts on her back and chest, plus blood-stained sheets.
And so they weren't held to account. That's changing now.
To date, Whitney's recovered more than $9 million from hotels, apartment complexes, hospitals, nursing homes, campgrounds, and even a furniture store.
The largest verdict was $800,000. The next highest was $225,000.
It was painful, it was hurting, they were fatigued.
Client Shamila Rana told us she, her husband, and 2 young boys were literally eaten alive while staying at this Fairfield Inn by Marriott in Lower Manhattan.
I have nothing to sit on now. There are bed bugs everywhere.
The family vacationing from Birmingham, England, recorded this video on a cell phone, capturing live bugs and bloodstains.
There was no doubt, when the manager came and she had a look.
The hotel moved the Ranas to a different room, but their personal belongings were left quarantined. Then, the night before flying home, Shamila was in the ER with a 102-degree fever.
We were literally traumatized by the whole thing. Our trip was ruined, and even when we came back, the kids were off school.
The Rana family case is still pending.
Why not do things the right way?
Because they take the short-term view. They feel as though that they can get away with it.
And Whitney explains he's unaware of any federal laws regulating bedbug extermination, due in part, he says, to lobbyists working for the hospitality industry.
In terms of trying to lobby Congress on behalf of individuals, that's not going to happen. They're totally outgunned.
Your best course of action?
Oh my God.
Take video and photos and consider your legal options.
And that's ultimately what's going to make a difference.
In Towson, Maryland, I'm Kevin Lewis, ABC 7 News.
Last spring, a federally licensed gun dealer shot and killed 3 people in his neighbor's home. For 8 months, ABC 7 has fought Montgomery County Police for records from the now closed criminal case file.
Well, last month, authorities released 5 911 calls, but nothing else. Montgomery County reporter Kevin Lewis now with the story. We want to let you know that some of the portions of what you're about to hear are disturbing.
3 dead people here.
May 2018. Chris Snyder opened fire in his neighbor's Brookville, Maryland home, killing 3 people, including Richard Olson's wife, Mary.
My wife is dead.
Okay, I need you to calm down so that I can get started your way.
Police would later learn Snyder had been holding his own wife hostage for days. She escaped and sprinted across this cul-de-sac to the Olson residence.
Hello.
Hi, it's Montgomery County Police on the recorded line. Who am I speaking to?
My husband have a gun trying to kill me.
The Olsons, their couple friends visiting from South Dakota, and 2 men constructing a deck at the house, hid Snyder's frantic wife in the basement. Yet Snyder, who was ex-military and trained law enforcement at this Howard County gym, snapped. He forced his way through the Olsons' garage door, assault weapon in hand. Mary Olson, Dan Murphy, and Craig Shotwell bled out on the kitchen floor. Dan Murphy's wife, Joan, with 911.
Oh, I can't believe this. We're on vacation from South Dakota. We just arrived here today. My husband is dead, too. Oh, God, help me.
Snyder returned to his house and barricaded himself inside. Meanwhile, the 4 survivors, Rick Olson, Joan Murphy, Snyder's wife, and the second carpenter, were left waiting in utter panic.
Please hurry, please hurry. Where are they? Isn't anybody available to come in with us?
Montgomery County Police had, in fact, saturated the neighborhood of luxury homes and sprawling lots, but were worried Snyder would shoot them too.
Come out! Please, police!
No, come in, please, come in.
Come out!
Is that the officer?
Anybody else in the house?
Just the dead people.
Okay, ma'am. I'm going to hang up, okay?
Oh.
All right, go ahead and speak to the officers.
Officers ultimately reached the survivors. As for Snyder, he committed suicide following a 7-hour standoff with SWAT.
And Craig saved 2 or 3 people's lives. He was a hero.
Now, 9 months later, Craig Shotwell's older brother, Bill, tells us the family is planning a trip to Big Pine Key in Florida to spread the handyman's ashes. 1,200 miles away in South Dakota, colleagues planted this tree outside Dan Murphy's former middle school classroom.
He had a good, dry sense of humor.
His wife, Joan, who you heard on that 911 call, recently traveled to Disney World, an annual trip she and Dan had taken for the last 37 years. His gravestone bearing a verse from John chapter 15.
It says, "No greater love has any man than this, that he lay down his life for his friends."
Mary Olson's family is still too emotional to speak publicly. a joint wrongful death lawsuit now filed against Chris Snyder's estate, demanding millions of dollars. In Montgomery County, I'm Kevin Lewis, ABC 7 News.
The Montgomery County Police Department continues to withhold public records connected to this now closed criminal case. ABC 7 will remain on this story.
That time is still there. It's like yesterday.
So ABC 7 happened to meet Ed Smith during an interview last fall. The Army veteran's laughter and candor really caught our attention.
But it's his decades-long battle with PTSD that prompted us to profile his life. And only on 7, Montgomery County reporter Kevin Lewis with the story of a once choir boy who lost his innocence in Vietnam.
Winchester, you got the motor pool.
On many evenings, Ed Smith
This is what I usually watch.
takes in tired reruns of MASH within the comforts of his College Park home.
This is the 1st Infantry patch.
The 74-year-old grandfather grew up in Northeast
Best time of my life.
and attended St. Anthony Catholic School,
I was an altar boy.
where he longed to become a priest.
There's no way to explain combat.
But then, the draft called.
And what did I learn to do?
It was 1969.
I learned to kill people.
Smith worked as an American advisor to the cash-strapped South Vietnamese army. He logged countless hours in Huey helicopters and fired more bullets than he cared to acknowledge.
I did things in Vietnam I'm not even going to get close to telling you about.
After 1 year, Smith, then 27, returned to the U.S.
When I went over, I was nice and meek, and when I came back, everything was this, that.
Hardened and disgruntled, but naive to the root cause, Smith married and went on to have 3 children.
I was very, very angry.
Yet the mental scar tissue forged in the jungles of Southeast Asia was an internal war Smith could not outgun.
Because I can't forgive myself, and I feel like I don't deserve any of these good feelings.
By the late 80s, doctors at the VA diagnosed Smith with post-traumatic stress disorder and alcoholism. In fact, the VA has found 17% of the 3 million troops who served in Vietnam went on to suffer from PTSD.
It cost me my marriage. I beat myself up how 1 year could affect my life so bad.
It's been nearly 50 years, and Smith still cannot fall asleep without walking the perimeter of his home like a soldier guarding base camp.
It's like yesterday.
However, the American Legion, group counseling, coaching high school baseball, and taking part in community theater
I played Ben Franklin.
have all brought Smith sincere joy. But this former Catholic altar boy explains that, similar to wartime, the bad days far outnumber the good.
I'm a good guy. You know, I'm not a bad guy. I can look in the mirror and say to myself, I'm a good guy. But those days are far and in between when you have PTSD.
In College Park, I'm Kevin Lewis, ABC 7 News.